Before you think about this for a moment, consider something that may completely change the way you look at love. What if the real reason a man becomes deeply attached to you has very little to do with your appearance, your sense of humor, or even how perfectly the two of you seem to fit together? This is where so many women misunderstand what truly creates lasting love. They believe a man falls deeply in love because the attraction is intense or because everything feels effortless between them. Those things absolutely matter in the beginning. They help create connection. But they are not the force that moves a man from simply enjoying your company to becoming deeply emotionally invested in you. We're talking about the kind of love where he catches sight of you during an ordinary Tuesday evening and suddenly feels emotions so powerful he struggles to explain them, even to himself. The kind of love where every picture he has of the future naturally includes you, and the idea of building that future without you feels impossible. Sounds surprising, doesn't it? Here's something even more unexpected. Many women who already have this kind of devotion in their relationship don't even recognize it. They are with a man who genuinely treasures them, yet they still hear that quiet little question inside their minds. It asks whether he truly loves them for who they are or whether he has simply become comfortable. It wonders if he stays because he chooses them every day or because leaving would simply be harder than staying, even when everything seems fine. That tiny voice never completely disappears. It quietly challenges every happy moment. If that sounds familiar, listen closely, because this matters. You are not imagining things. You are not overthinking. Those questions appear naturally whenever your heart is fully invested and you have no clear way to measure how deeply someone truly feels. Stay with me because what comes next explains why so many people completely miss the signs that matter most. Most people grow up believing they understand what makes someone fall in love, but the truth is much more complex than the simple advice we usually hear. You were probably told that being easygoing, supportive, attractive, and fun would naturally create lasting commitment. Those qualities certainly help build a healthy relationship, but they do not fully explain why one woman becomes unforgettable while another slowly fades into the background. Nobody really explains the emotional process that happens inside a man when his feelings move beyond attraction into something far deeper. There comes a point where one person quietly becomes different from everyone else. Not because she is flawless, not because she never makes mistakes, but because she reaches a place inside him that nobody else ever has. Suddenly, other romantic possibilities lose their appeal. They stop feeling exciting because his heart already knows where it belongs. This shift cannot be forced. It cannot be manufactured through games, mixed signals, or pretending not to care. It develops through experiences that slowly reshape the way he feels whenever he thinks about you. The most interesting part is that many women spend years focusing on the wrong things while completely overlooking what actually creates this transformation. Imagine discovering that the habits you believed mattered most were only a small piece of a much larger picture. That changes everything. And the next part may completely challenge what you've believed about love until now, so don't skip ahead, because every piece connects to the next. Once you truly understand these ideas, two things begin to change almost immediately. First, you stop questioning whether his feelings are real every time he acts differently than you expected. Second, you finally start seeing the real reasons he feels so deeply connected to you instead of guessing what is happening inside his mind, and that changes everything. But before we continue, take 1 second to press the like button if you've ever been with someone who said all the right words, yet something inside you still whispered that the connection wasn't as deep as it looked. If you've ever experienced that feeling, stay with me because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you understand love. To uncover the truth, we first need to clear away the biggest misunderstandings that keep so many women confused. Most people judge a relationship by listening to what a man says. They wait for the words, "I love you." They pay attention to compliments, sweet messages, and emotional promises. Those things can certainly be meaningful. They can warm your heart, But words alone are often the easiest part of love. Some men speak beautifully without carrying those emotions deeply inside. There is a huge difference between saying something because it sounds right and feeling it so strongly that it changes your actions every single day. That difference is easy to miss if you're only listening instead of watching. Keep watching, because the next point surprises almost everyone. Another sign people often depend on is time. They ask whether he makes you his priority or whether he only sees you when nothing else is happening. Of course, making time matters. Healthy relationships need attention, but time by itself doesn't always reveal the depth of someone's heart. A man can spend countless hours with you simply because the routine feels familiar or because life has settled into a comfortable pattern. You can live together, sleep beside each other, share responsibilities, and still never experience the powerful emotional connection that makes someone feel completely irreplaceable. So if lasting devotion is not measured by words alone, and it isn't measured only by time, what actually creates it? The answer goes much deeper than most people expect. Many also judge love by how a man behaves in front of other people. Does he proudly introduce you? Does he speak highly of you around friends? Does he make it obvious that you're together? Those are usually encouraging signs, but they still don't tell the whole story. Some men naturally keep their private lives quiet. They may adore you more than anyone else ever has, yet they simply don't enjoy putting their relationship on display. At the same time, another man might look like the perfect partner in public, while the emotional bond behind closed doors is surprisingly weak. Appearances can be convincing, but they don't always reveal what truly exists. Stay with me, because this is where everything begins to make sense. Most people spend years studying the visible parts of a relationship because those are easy to notice. They count text messages, they remember expensive dates, they watch social media posts and public affection. But the kind of love that completely transforms a man's heart grows somewhere much quieter. It develops beneath the surface where no one else can see it. It has very little to do with how often he messages you or how many gifts he buys. Those things may reflect care, but they are not the foundation. Deep devotion is built on 5 powerful elements that slowly reshape the way he experiences your presence. When those 5 pieces come together, he doesn't simply enjoy being with you. He begins to feel that life makes more sense because you're part of it. The first reason this happens is surprisingly simple. You awaken emotions he never expected to feel. Most relationships begin in familiar ways. There is attraction, interest grows, you spend time together. Conversations become longer, feelings slowly build. It seems like a story that has happened thousands of times before. Then something unexpected appears. Without realizing it, you become someone who reaches parts of him that had been silent for years. Suddenly, this relationship no longer feels ordinary. It feels different in ways he can't fully explain. And what happens next is the moment that changes everything, so make sure you don't miss the next part. Most relationships begin in a familiar way. 2 people meet, attraction grows, conversations become longer, and everything seems to follow a path that feels easy to predict. But every once in a while, something completely different happens. A connection appears that doesn't fit the usual pattern. Somewhere during the journey, he experiences a feeling he never expected. It catches him before he has time to explain it away or protect himself from it. Maybe it was one honest conversation that stayed in his thoughts long after you walked away. Maybe it was the moment you shared something genuine without trying to sound impressive. It wasn't a carefully planned romantic gesture. It probably looked ordinary from the outside. Yet something about your honesty reached him in a way he couldn't ignore. That is often the moment where an ordinary relationship becomes something much deeper. When someone touches a man's emotions before his walls have a chance to rise, the experience doesn't simply become another memory. It settles inside him. Days pass, then weeks, yet that feeling quietly remains. He finds himself thinking about you without trying. He remembers tiny moments that should have been forgettable but somehow became unforgettable. The surprising part is that you were probably not trying to win him over at all. You were simply being real, and he could feel the difference between someone performing a role and someone showing up exactly as they are. That difference is rare. Don't miss what comes next, because this is where the connection grows even stronger. Another powerful reason a man falls deeply in love is that he discovers a place where he no longer feels the need to wear a mask. This matters far more than most people realize. Many men spend much of their lives feeling pressure to stay strong, stay calm, and always appear like they have everything under control. Around friends, family, and co-workers, they often hold back emotions, hide uncertainty, or carefully choose what they reveal. It becomes a habit they hardly notice anymore. Then they meet someone who quietly changes that experience. Around you, the pressure begins to disappear. He realizes he can speak honestly without worrying that every word will be judged. He can admit when life feels difficult without believing it makes him weak. He can have an off day, make mistakes, stay silent, or simply exist without feeling like he has to earn acceptance every minute. That kind of emotional comfort is incredibly uncommon. When a man realizes he can finally relax around someone who accepts both his strengths and his imperfections, that feeling becomes deeply valuable. He starts protecting the relationship because it gives him something he struggles to find anywhere else. Real love cannot grow where people constantly perform. It grows where two people feel safe enough to be completely themselves. If you've ever wondered why certain relationships last while others slowly fade away, keep watching because the next reason explains a major piece of the puzzle. The next reason may surprise you because it has very little to do with romance itself. You entered his life as someone who already had a life of your own. Your happiness did not depend entirely on his presence. You had your own dreams, your own interests, your own friendships, and your own direction. You wanted him in your life, and he could clearly feel that, but you weren't expecting him to become the center of your identity. That creates a completely different emotional experience. There is a huge difference between being deeply wanted and being desperately needed. When someone depends on another person to fill every empty space inside them, the relationship quietly becomes heavier over time. A man may begin feeling responsible for carrying someone else's entire emotional world. If he has a difficult day or simply needs time to recharge, he starts worrying that everything will fall apart. That invisible pressure slowly pushes many relationships toward distance. But when you already have passions that bring you joy and a life that continues growing with or without him, something changes. He doesn't feel trapped. Instead, he feels genuinely chosen. He knows you could continue living your life, yet you still choose to share it with him. That choice carries incredible emotional weight, and the next reason builds on it in a way most people never expect. He understands that you have choices. He sees that your life is already meaningful and complete. Yet you continue choosing him day after day because he is the person you truly want beside you. That realization carries enormous emotional weight. For many men, there is nothing more powerful than being chosen by a woman they deeply respect, especially when they know she is not staying out of fear, loneliness, or because she believes she has no other options. Your love feels real because it comes from freedom, not desperation. It tells him that your heart is with him because of who he is, not because you need someone to fill an empty space inside you. That feeling is incredibly rare, and once a man experiences it, he never forgets it. But there is another layer that makes this bond even stronger. Stay with me because this next part is where many relationships either become unbreakable or quietly begin to fall apart. One of the biggest reasons a man develops lasting devotion is because you stood beside him during a season that truly tested him. Not during the exciting moments that everyone celebrates, not during the easy days when everything looked perfect from the outside. I'm talking about the difficult chapters, the stressful ones, the moments when life became messy and uncertain. Those are the moments that reveal everything. Maybe he faced a setback at work that shook his confidence. Maybe he lost someone important. Maybe he was carrying pressure he didn't know how to explain, and because of that, he wasn't the easiest person to be around. His patience disappeared. His energy changed. The atmosphere between you felt heavier than usual. Many people quietly pull away when relationships become uncomfortable. They miss the version of their partner that felt lighter and more exciting. But you didn't disappear just because life became difficult. You didn't make dramatic promises or try to prove your loyalty with grand speeches. Instead, your actions quietly spoke for you. You stayed present. You offered support without making everything about yourself. You showed him that your care wasn't limited to good moods and happy memories. That kind of consistency reaches places inside a man that words never can. He may never fully explain what it meant to him, but he carries it with him. It changes the way he sees you forever. Almost anyone can enjoy the sunshine. Real commitment is revealed during the storms. When everything around him felt uncertain, you became one of the few things that remained steady. That creates a level of trust that cannot be rushed or faked. Keep watching because the final piece ties all of these together in a way that surprises almost everyone. The last reason holds everything else together, and without it, many relationships slowly lose their spark over time. As your connection became more serious, you refused to lose yourself. You didn't slowly erase your personality just to avoid disagreements. You didn't begin changing your opinions simply because you thought that would make him happier. You kept your own voice, your own dreams, your own boundaries, your sense of humor, and even the parts of yourself that weren't perfectly polished. That authenticity mattered more than you probably realized. In many relationships, someone starts off completely genuine. Then, as the feelings become stronger, fear quietly enters the picture. They begin worrying about saying the wrong thing. They overthink every conversation. They hide certain opinions. They become smaller in an effort to protect the relationship. Without even noticing, they slowly replace honesty with approval. But you chose something different. You continued being yourself even when it felt risky. That gave him the chance to love the real person instead of a carefully edited version. Ironically, it is often that honesty that makes someone unforgettable. A relationship built on pretending eventually becomes exhausting. A relationship built on authenticity becomes stronger with time. And what happens when all 5 of these pieces come together is something most people spend their entire lives searching for, so don't miss what comes next. Instead of hiding parts of yourself, you continued showing him the real person behind the relationship. You didn't stop speaking honestly just to avoid every disagreement. You didn't slowly trade your personality for a version that always says the right thing. That matters more than most people realize. In many relationships, someone becomes so afraid of losing the connection that they begin editing themselves without noticing. They hold back opinions. They avoid difficult conversations. They become focused on keeping the peace instead of staying genuine. Little by little, the vibrant person who first captured someone's heart begins to disappear behind a version designed only to please everyone else. But you chose a different path. You kept bringing your true thoughts, your natural energy, your sense of humor, your boundaries, and your imperfect moments into the relationship. Because of that, he didn't fall in love with a role you created just to impress him. He fell in love with a real person who laughs, struggles, grows, makes mistakes, and still stays authentic. That kind of connection is incredibly uncommon. He knows who you truly are, and that is exactly the person he continues choosing. Not a perfect image, not a carefully polished version. The real you. That is what keeps love alive long after the excitement of the early months fades away. If this sounds familiar, keep watching because what happens next determines whether that love continues growing or slowly begins to fade. Understanding these 5 ideas isn't only about feeling reassured today, it's about protecting the connection you've worked so hard to build. Even strong relationships can slowly weaken through small habits that seem harmless at first. One common mistake happens after you finally feel secure. At the beginning, you were relaxed, natural, and comfortable being yourself. Then, once the relationship became more serious, you started overthinking everything. You questioned every text. You measured every word. hard. You became more concerned about saying the perfect thing than saying the honest thing. Without realizing it, your natural energy was replaced by constant self-monitoring. That effortless connection slowly became heavier because the real version of you was hidden behind someone trying too hard to get everything right. Another mistake is allowing his love to become the only place where your confidence comes from. Healthy love feels wonderful, but no relationship can carry the full responsibility for your self-worth. If you constantly need reassurance just to feel secure, the relationship begins carrying a weight it was never designed to hold. Validation is meaningful, but it cannot become the foundation of your identity. Stay with me, because one final truth brings all of this together. There is another mistake that quietly damages even the strongest relationships. Never use the vulnerable parts of his heart against him. At some point, he trusted you enough to reveal fears, disappointments, and private struggles that very few people know about. Those moments are gifts, not weapons. If those personal truths are thrown back at him during an argument simply to win, the sense of emotional safety begins to disappear. Once that trust is broken, many men naturally become more guarded because they no longer feel completely safe opening their hearts. It is just as important not to lose the life that made you interesting before the relationship began. Keep investing in your dreams, your friendships, your interests, and the experiences that make you feel alive. Those parts of your life are not distractions from love. They are part of what makes love stronger. Finally, allow yourself to truly receive the care he gives you. Sometimes past pain makes us expect disappointment even when someone consistently shows up with genuine love. If you always keep one foot outside the relationship, waiting for everything to fall apart, he can quietly feel that distance. It becomes difficult to keep giving your whole heart to someone who never fully opens theirs. None of these ideas are meant to create fear. They are reminders to protect something valuable. If these 5 signs describe your relationship, then what you have is built on something much deeper than routine or comfort. He discovered emotions he never expected, found peace in your presence, felt genuinely chosen, experienced your loyalty during difficult seasons, and fell in love with the real person you continue to be. If this helped you see your relationship in a new light, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. And before you leave, tell me in the comments which of these 5 ideas spoke to your own experience the most. Your story could encourage someone else who needs to hear it today.